no.
Security footage of Flydubai Flight 981 captures its final moments.
Oh, it's diving hard.
The level of violence of the impact was catastrophic.
62 people are killed in the fatal dive. Investigators soon discover the pilots had aborted 2 landings.
Rostov Tower, we're going around.
A go-around is done just when conditions are not perfect.
Did they say why they were going around the second time?
They just said going around.
Check your speed.
The next thing I knew, the plane was diving towards the runway.
Investigators needed to find out how the 2 go-arounds were different.
One turns to disaster. Why?
Flydubai Flight 981 closes in on Rostov on Don International Airport in southwest Russia.
Rostov Tower, Sky Dubai 9081, we're at 2,600 feet.
2,300 feet is our next target altitude.
11 miles out, Captain Aristos Sokratos and First Officer Alejandro Alva Cruz prepare the Boeing 737-800 for touchdown.
Both pilots had a pretty good amount of flying hours in the 737 specifically. These were experienced pilots.
Flight 9081, Rostov Tower.
Wind 240 degrees, gusts 30 knots. You're cleared to land on runway 22.
The controller reports the weather conditions at the airport. Thick clouds cover Rostov on Don. High winds are battering the runways.
The weather in Rostov at that time was pretty low cloud with wind gusts. It was typical for that time of year for Rostov. If you look at the geography with the sea and the hills around it, then yes, you can expect some challenges.
Flydubai Flight 981 departed Dubai International Airport at 10:37 p.m. It's a 4-hour flight northwest to Rostov on Don. It's a bumpy ride for the 55 passengers on board. The flight is expected to land in minutes.
150 knots.
8 miles out, the pilots reduce speed as they begin the final descent.
On approach, pilots know exactly what the airplane is doing. They know the conditions that they're flying in.
Flaps 30.
Flaps 30.
They're going to drop the flaps bit by bit when they drop their landing gear. It's a very gradual process.
It should be a bit bumpy and then later it should be calm.
The pilots expect turbulence on approach, but anticipate a smooth landing. The runway is just 4 miles away. But there's a threat ahead.
Go around. Wind shear ahead.
The onboard radar has detected dangerous winds.
Wind shear ahead. Wind shear ahead.
Wind shear is a rapid change in direction and speed of wind. If a pilot experiences a strong headwind that suddenly changes to a tailwind, the aircraft might not have enough lift to remain airborne, especially at low altitude.
The wind shear alert is built into the aircraft's avionics to tell you you're going into wind currents that could be problematic.
Wind shear ahead.
Wind shear go around.
Just 1,000 feet above the ground, landing at Rostov on Don becomes too risky.
Rostov Tower, this is 9081. We're conducting a go-around due to wind shear.
The pilots abort their approach.
Every pilot is prepared to make a go-around on every approach. It's something that pilots do off the top of their heads. There's no manual involved.
They have no limit to the amount of approaches that they can try as long as they have enough fuel. So why not go around and just try it again?
Flight 9081, copy.
Flight 981 is one of 4 incoming flights controllers are managing as high winds delay landings.
Aeroflot 1166, be advised, Sky Dubai 981 reports wind shear on landing.
The air traffic controller's workload was definitely increased in this environment, and they have to start juggling all those cards in the air.
As Flight 981 climbs,
Aeroflot 1166, you're cleared to land on runway 22.
an Aeroflot flight prepares to land. Captain Socrates pays close attention to its communications.
I want to see what this guy will do.
The crew at this point is hoping that the crews of other flights are able to give them some information that they might be able to use to make some decisions about what to do next.
That flight can't land at Rostov on Don either.
Aeroflot 1166, we're going around 22 wind shear.
The Aeroflot pilots also encounter wind shear on final approach. They're forced to abort.
That kind of seals the deal. Flydubai is going to have to either wait or they're going to have to go to an alternate airport.
High over Rostov on Don, passengers on Flight 981 are restless. The pilots are holding at 15,000 feet, circling near the airport, waiting for a chance to land.
The pilots sit in a holding pattern since they had enough fuel to be able to do so, to wait for weather conditions to improve.
3 other planes are also in a holding pattern. The storm pounding Rostov on Don isn't passing.
Aeroflot 1166, we're diverting.
Sky Dubai 981, for your information, previous traffic.
Went to alternate airports.
All the other flights decide to divert to alternate airports instead.
The problem with diverting is that it's expensive and it's inconvenient. The passengers don't end up at their destination. They have to be put up in hotels. And with a low-cost airline, it's the last thing it wants.
Captain Socrates continues monitoring the weather radar. Finally, he spots a clearing.
I think I'd like to give it a try.
I agree. Let's try.
It's not unusual for crews to take advantage if there happens to be a break in the weather pattern that provides safe conditions to land the aircraft.
Sky Dubai 981, request descent for another approach.
15,000 feet over Rostov on Don, the pilots again prepare to land.
Sky Dubai 981, Rostov Tower, you're cleared to land on runway 22.
Good evening, your first officer here. We will be landing shortly. Once again, we apologize for the delay.
13 miles from runway 22, the pilots line up for a second approach.
Be advised, low altitude
Headwind 53 knots, light icing.
Even though winds are strong, controllers aren't reporting wind shear at the runway.
Flaps 30.
Flaps 30.
But as they approach, they soon realize something's not right.
Check your speed.
Okay, go around.
The pilots execute another go-around.
Keep it at 15 degrees, nose up.
Just 2,000 feet in the air, Captain Socrates is wrestling with the Boeing 737. Seconds later, Flight 981 is diving straight at the runway.
Oh my God.
Fire and emergency crews rush to the end of runway 22.
The aircraft punched a crater in the runway about 1.5 meters deep with wreckage thrown everywhere.
Firefighters battle the flames through the night. But there's no one to be rescued. All 62 people on board Flight 981 are killed in the crash. Grieving families and the world demand answers. Hours after Flydubai Flight 981 crashes on the runway at Rostov del Don, investigators from the IAC, the Interstate Aviation Committee, arrive on the scene.
The IAC is the lead air accident investigation agency, not just for Russia, but for several of the former Soviet states.
The IAC must find the cause for the horrific tragedy.
Okay, that's great. That belongs over here.
Wreckage from Flight 981 is laid out in a nearby hangar for closer inspection. A team from the United Arab Emirates assists in the investigation.
So how fast did the plane hit the ground?
The size of the debris would tell whether it's a high-speed impact, whether it's a low-speed impact. There are clues in pieces of wreckage.
There's not much left of it.
It was all small pieces. It describes a very high-speed and violent impact with the ground. It makes us question what really happened.
Let's see it.
Investigators wonder how the plane could have gathered so much speed during an attempted landing.
Oh, it's diving hard.
Security footage gives them a look at the last moments of Flight 981. Flight 981's angle of descent leads investigators to wonder if the pilots were having problems controlling their plane.
Maybe it's their flight controls?
No, I've seen it before.
Boeing 737 flight controls have a problematic history. March the 3rd, 1991. United Airlines Flight 585 banks hard right and crashes while attempting to land, killing all on board. 3 years later, it happens again. US Air Flight 427 rolls left and crashes near Pittsburgh.
Investigators were tearing their hair out trying to figure it out.
2 years pass without incident. Then, while on approach to land, the pilots of Eastwind Airlines Flight 517 lose control. This time, the pilots regain control of their plane and land safely in Richmond, Virginia. The plane is intact. Investigators get their best lead yet.
After a 5-year investigation, the National Transportation Safety Board concluded that a power unit in the rudder had been responsible for what's called a rudder hardover. The rudder had moved to one side, and that caused the aircraft to roll over and then dive into the ground.
Movements of rudder and other control surfaces occur when pilots push their rudder pedal or pull the yoke. Power control units turn those commands into actual movements of the control surfaces.
It's similar to the power steering on a car.
Hey there. Did you recover the PCUs?
Investigators want to know if any of Flight 981's control units failed.
Yep, they're here.
Great. We need to test them.
Much of the Boeing 737 was destroyed during high-speed impact, but 2 of the power control units have survived. They could provide crucial information.
PCUs are the heart and soul of the flight controls of the airplane, and one of the first questions if you have an airplane that came screaming out of the sky at a 50-degree angle is, did we have a PCU problem in the flight controls?
Investigators carefully examine the PCUs of Flight 981. They look for signs of a malfunction.
Nothing wrong with the PCUs.
They were extensively examined and found to have had absolutely no connection to what brought this airplane out of the sky.
With flight control issues ruled out, the team turns to the controller for insight.
Take me through what you saw.
They were on final approach.
Flight 981, Rostov Tower. You're cleared to land on runway 22.
Then they aborted their first attempt to land. They reported wind shear.
Rostov Tower, this is 981. We're conducting a go-around due to wind shear.
Sky Dubai 981, make holding pattern at your convenience. They climbed and began holding.
How long were they holding?
For a long time.
Investigators learned that the pilots held for almost 2 hours, waiting for the weather to improve.
Sky Dubai 981, request descent for another approach.
Then they asked to land.
But something went wrong when the pilots made their second approach.
Rostov Tower, this is Sky Dubai 981, we're going around.
Did they say why they were going around the second time?
No. They just said going around, that's all. The next thing I knew, the plane was diving towards the runway.
Did they report any problems with the plane?
No, nothing.
IAC investigators still can't explain why Flight 981 suddenly banked and then dived into runway 22.
Something had gone wrong on the second go-around, but investigators didn't know what. Was there a problem with the airplane? Did the pilots make a mistake? There was no knowing it yet.
Okay. 2 go-arounds, 1 turns to disaster. Why?
Let's take a look at the first one.
Investigators turn to FDR data to better understand why Flydubai Flight 981 performed 1 successful go-around, but crashed during the second.
Investigators need to figure out how the 2 go-arounds were different from each other.
Zoom in a bit.
Look.
They confirm the pilots reacted to a wind shear alarm during the first approach.
And how did they respond?
Thrust jumps up to 102.
So he applied max power. What about the flaps?
Flaps at 30. And gear will remain down.
Textbook wind shear go-around.
Yeah.
If a pilot encounters wind shear, he'll typically perform what's called a wind shear escape maneuver. And that involves increasing the engine power to a maximum. You leave the flaps down, you leave the gear down.
Wind shear ahead.
Wind shear go-around.
The first go-around was pretty routine. They responded appropriately. They did exactly what they should have done.
This is the second go-around.
Investigators analyze the second attempt at landing, focusing in on the last moments before the crash.
Now, did they get another wind shear warning the second time?
No, nothing. Look, there's a leap in airspeed from 153 to 176 in seconds.
10 seconds before the pilots abort, a sudden increase in the plane's airspeed was recorded.
Investigators saw the airspeed fluctuating for more than 20 knots within a few seconds. It's a pretty strong gust of wind. They can see that on the flight data recorder.
Investigators determined that a strong gust of wind struck the plane.
You can feel the wind increase on the nose of the airplane. It's probably also moving the airplane a little bit left or right. It's not a pleasant position to be in.
How did the pilots respond this time?
Let me see. Well, they added max power.
Okay, go around.
And what about the flaps and landing gear?
Flaps are retracted. Gear retracted.
The data reveals that on the second go-around, the pilots performed a different procedure.
They didn't fly the wind shear escape maneuver during the second go-around.
Well, it looks like they were doing a standard go-around.
On a standard go-around, the flaps and landing gear are retracted.
Except they did it at max power.
Given how streamlined the aircraft is, with the landing gear up and the flaps largely retracted, the use of maximum power is very much overkill.
Investigators conclude that on the second attempt, the crew flew a hybrid of two procedures. They used the power of a wind shear escape maneuver with the gear and flap settings of a traditional go-around.
So, what would that do to the plane?
We'll need to take a look at all the factors at play. They were holding on for nearly 2 hours. That's 4 tons of fuel they burned.
The weight of the Boeing 737 is a critical factor in the plane's performance.
Adding the weight of the plane, total weight, that's 54 tons.
That's a light plane.
Yeah.
At this weight, the crew would feel a faster acceleration.
Max power, no drag from flaps or landing gear, low weight. This plane could have been accelerating dangerously fast.
This is really an accelerated situation. This is a very powerful airplane doing something that feels like you just went into afterburner.
How much quicker did this plane pick up speed on the second go-around?
We need to do modeling on this.
It was really incumbent upon the investigators to look further into the question of the acceleration.
Investigators turn to computer modeling to answer a crucial question.
Here's all the data for the first and second go-around.
Yeah.
How did the rate of acceleration differ at the start of the two attempts?
First go-around, speed increased by 17 knots.
And the second?
Second go-around, 25 knot increase.
Well, it's a difference of 8 knots between the two go-arounds.
Yeah.
It was a key part of the findings when they realized that over 40% difference existed between the acceleration from the first go-around to the second go-around.
Could the increase in acceleration have affected the pilots themselves? They calculate the impact of the second go-around.
Wow. Look at the backward force experienced by the pilot.
And that faster acceleration on the second go-around would have pushed him back into the seat.
The team also examines the impact of vertical acceleration.
G-force would have lifted the pilots upwards.
the pilot would have felt a slight unweighting, he would come up out of the seat.
So sudden acceleration like this, both horizontal and vertical, that'll play tricks on your mind.
Were Captain Socrates' senses his worst enemy?
Maybe he experienced a cinematographic illusion.
Check your speed.
Okay, go around.
A cinematographic illusion is a dangerous form of spatial disorientation. When a plane accelerates quickly with no visual reference of the horizon, the gravitational forces cause a pitch-up illusion in the inner ear. The little hairs in the inner ear bend backwards, tricking the brain into thinking the head is tilting up.
You might be going level, but if you cannot see outside, that sensation on your vestibular system is overwhelming, and you would really feel that you're climbing up.
The cinematographic illusion is one of the most lethal traps in aviation.
Keep the nose up. 15 degrees.
It's an extremely convincing illusion.
What was the actual pitch of the plane after it accelerated during the second go-around?
Almost 20 seconds after the actual pitch was 8.8 degrees nose up.
Investigators look for evidence that the pilots of Flight 981 became severely disoriented in the dark.
If you imagine that this glass of water represents the fluid in your ear, if you accelerated this along a smooth surface, the water would be pushed up against the back of the glass, very much like this. In other words, it's the same effect as if you'd simply tilted the glass. If you take visual information away, what tends to happen is that the pilot forgets about the acceleration and assumes that everything he's feeling is due to the pitch.
And what was the pilot's perceived pitch?
Combining the horizontal and vertical acceleration experienced by the pilot, we can calculate the pitch that is perceived by the pilot. This is called the illusionary pitch.
Pilot's perceived pitch was 21.6 degrees.
They compare the plane's actual pitch to the pilot's illusionary pitch during the second go-around.
10 seconds later, the plane is pitched up 3.9 degrees. And the pilot perceived it to be 26.7 degrees nose up.
Wow, that's a huge difference.
This puts the captain into a situation that he potentially will be experiencing a cinematographic illusion. The captain is feeling one thing, but the aircraft is doing something else.
Get this. Near the end of the flight, the actual pitch is 7.6 degrees. And the perceived pitch becomes well over 40.
Investigators discover 3 instances where there was a dramatic difference between the plane's actual and the pilot's perceived pitch.
Keep it at 15 degrees, nose up.
It's evidence that the pilots may have experienced a cinematographic illusion during the second go-around. Could the feeling of the rapid acceleration have affected how the pilots flew the plane? They dig deeper into the flight data.
Well, the captain pushed forward on the yoke.
He was trying to pitch the plane downward.
That's what his senses were telling him to do.
The captain, responding more to his feelings than to what he was seeing on any instrumentation in front of him, he decides that he needs to push the airplane forward and counteract this massive pitch up. He's trying to save them by pitching down.
Wow, check this out. He pushed the stabilizer trim down.
From the data, investigators see the captain didn't just push the yoke.
Be careful!
Captain applies the stabilizer trim because he's trying to push the nose of the aircraft down.
Wait, for how long? Yeah, he held the trim switch for 12 seconds.
Holding the switch for 12 seconds is unheard of. That should never be held for that amount of time.
The team discovers that instead of pitching the plane up to climb, the captain is pitching the plane towards the ground.
No.
Eventually putting the plane into a fatal dive. The sudden change in direction is jarring.
At that time, you would feel like you're in a roller coaster. You know, when you're coming up to the peak as you're diving at speed, it's similar to that sensation.
The pitch down has another disorienting effect on the pilot's senses.
Pitching down of the aircraft would have caused both the captain and the first officer to experience a dramatic change in the G-forces.
Oh my God!
That would increase the confusion in the cockpit as to what's going on.
Investigators conclude that the various G-forces on Captain Socrates caused his complete spatial disorientation.
The captain pushing and pulling on the yoke, stomping on the rudder. In the dive, you know, that shows confusion. He's probably disorientated.
Oh my God!
You know, he's trying desperately to get out of that sensation that he's feeling.
But there's one question that still troubles investigators.
Was the first officer feeling the illusion as well?
Even though the accelerations experienced by both pilots was the same, the perception of what is happening can differ. And that can be due to many different factors: expectation, what are they looking at, their age, their experience.
Started at the second go-around, please.
The cockpit voice recorder could tell investigators if the first officer was also under the influence of the somatographic illusion.
Okay, go around.
Careful! No. Don't do that!
You see something wrong.
No! Pull it! Pull it!
He's telling him to pull back the yoke.
Pull it!
If he's feeling the same illusion as the captain, it sure doesn't seem like he was affected by it.
The first officer knew how much trouble the aircraft was in. He knew the captain wasn't responding the way he should.
Oh my God!
Go up! Go up!
Investigators are left wondering why the first officer didn't intervene.
You look at this first officer trying his best and wonder, why didn't you just take control? I say, I've got the airplane.
He's been flying the 737-800 for nearly 2 years. He's fully certified.
Investigators look into the first officer's background to understand why he didn't take control of Flight 981 when he saw that the captain was making grave mistakes.
Look, his trainer wrote notes on his assessment, and this one's telling.
They find notes left by one of his flight instructors that alarm them.
One thing that could have possibly saved this aircraft was discovered in a note that was left behind by a flight instructor.
He needs to be a bit more assertive in what is needed from the captain. And it continues. Tell him what you want done, and do not wait for the captain to inquire with you or direct you in this regard. He's not the type to take control.
No! Pull it! Pull it!
The first officer could see that the captain was experiencing enormous problems trying to control the go-around. He really should have taken some decisive action and intervened.
Oh my God!
I still don't understand something. Why did they try to land the plane in the first place?
The big mystery was, why was this crew so determined to land at Rostov del Don when every other flight had already diverted?
A storm was pummeling Rostov del Don Airport as Flight 981 circled above. Why didn't the pilots divert to another airport? Investigators look for answers in the cockpit voice recording.
Flydubai 981, for your information, previous traffic went to alternate airports.
The other flights diverted? There's no need. I'm gonna keep flying.
Investigators just couldn't understand why they wanted to fly in circles for almost 2 hours.
I'm gonna try this approach, and if I can't make it, we'll have a go-around, and I will head to Minerali Vodi, okay?
Okay, Captain. Understood.
Who's he talking to?
The dispatcher in Dubai.
Investigators finally get an indication of the captain's rationale for attempting another landing. As the captain decides whether to divert, he contacts Flydubai's flight dispatcher in the United Arab Emirates.
We would like to recommend you hold max as possible.
Dispatchers manage the entire fleet's operation for a specific airline.
The dispatcher and the captain are co-equally responsible for the safety of the flight. There is a very delicate dance that goes on between and among the dispatchers and the captains.
The captain follows with the dispatcher's recommendation.
Minutes turn to hours as the pilots wait for a chance to land.
I don't know, man. If we divert, we're gonna exceed our flying hours. What are you looking at?
Maximum duty hours.
He's calculating his duty hours.
Regulations limit how many hours pilots can fly during a duty period.
Been in the air for 5.5 hours now.
The team learns that the pilots were concerned they might exceed their duty hours.
Stop. Roll the map. They've been flying for at least 5 hours. It'll take another hour to reach their alternate airport, wait out the storm.
Then they still have to get back to Rostov del Don before returning to Dubai.
Diverting would put them over their duty hours for the day.
Right.
I think it'll be clear by the time we do this approach now. And even if we start now, I think we'll be good.
We'll be good.
Okay. Is he landing because it's clear or because he wants to get on the ground?
The conversation on the flight deck before the second approach clearly showed that they weren't really thinking so much about the safety of the landing, just the fact that they wanted to land.
I think I'd like to give it a try.
I agree. Let's try.
Stop the recording. So they decide to circle for 2 hours after a 4-hour flight in the middle of the night.
Did the long flight affect the pilot's ability to land the plane safely?
2 hours a whole, 6 hours total time. Aren't we seeing a decline in the decision-making capabilities because of fatigue?
Tired?
No.
As investigators break down Flight 981's journey from Dubai to Rostov del Don, they identify a glaring problem.
They were actually in the air for more than 6 hours. It's almost 5 a.m. their time when they're landing.
The circadian rhythm is the body's natural alignment with the day and night cycle. The quiet period is roughly for a 4-hour period between 2 in the morning and 6 in the morning. That's the point at which your mental ability is pretty much at its lowest.
I think I'd like to give it a try.
I agree. Let's try.
Investigators determined the crew was suffering from operational fatigue as they launched their second approach.
Good evening, your first officer here. We will be landing shortly. Once again, we apologize for the delay.
The decision to make a second attempt to land at Rostov del Don triggers a chain of events that ends in catastrophe.
Check your speed.
As the aircraft is hit by this sudden wind, the crew is forced into executing another go-around.
Okay, go around.
And this time, it was all going to go wrong.
Captain Socrates executes a wind shear go-around, pushing the throttle to maximum power. The first officer performs a standard go-around, retracting the flaps and raising the landing gear.
Both pilots were essentially flying two different airplanes from there.
This blunder factors heavily into the catastrophe that followed.
Flight 981 climbs from Rostov on Don at high speed.
When you're light on fuel and you put the maximum thrust, you will accelerate.
It's what happened in the last few seconds that doomed Flight 981.
Keep it at 15 degrees, nose up.
At this moment, Captain Socrates fights an inner battle.
The acceleration of the aircraft makes the captain feel as though the aircraft is pitching up a lot more than it actually is.
His spatial orientation deteriorates rapidly.
Your vestibular senses and your middle ear are all telling you the wrong thing.
The captain counters the pitch-up feeling of a somatographic illusion by pushing the yoke forward.
The captain has lost touch with the reality of what's happening to the airplane.
Then the final blow.
The captain holds that stabilizer trim button down for about 12 seconds. With the sudden forcing of the aircraft's nose down and stabilizer trim, the aircraft transitions from a climb very suddenly into a dive.
The aircraft is now in a very dangerous situation, which the captain is unable to overcome.
My God!
They're accelerating rapidly, and the first officer finally gets on the yoke and tries to pull, but the controls on the left side govern where the airplane is. And you get to a certain point, and there's no recovery.
Nose diving at full throttle towards the runway, Captain Socrates is completely disoriented. When he adds rudder at the last moment, he's lost all awareness of how the plane is flying.
The pilots in this case were conducting the flight very well, right up until those last few moments. And then it all really just fell apart.
The IAC investigation into the crash of Flight 981 is a landmark case of how spatial disorientation can end in disaster.
This accident is a wake-up call for the industry. This is one of the accidents that paved the way into increased training in spatial disorientation.
In their final report, investigators blame the captain's string of errors on his diminished psychological state. The IAC recommends that Flydubai provide better training on the manual operation of stabilizer trim, so their pilots don't make the same mistake again.
Research into human factors, including situations like this where disorientation likely occurred, is at the forefront of aviation safety research. We are training our pilots on simulators to experience these illusions before they experience them in there, so they can recognize those situations.
I think the Flydubai accident shows how quickly your senses can overtake you. And one of the key lessons is for pilots to trust in their instruments, to take a step back from what they may think they're experiencing, to actually understand what the aeroplane is doing. You've got to keep the aeroplane flying.